Okay, so welcome to lesson 23, preparing for on air. We're going to continue again as we are for a good couple of weeks, just with all the concepts and different areas that we want to cover and make sure that we master of being on air, from building content to interviews and news and imaging and all that type of stuff. And we're gonna, if like I say, today cover a little bit of the concept of what needs to be on air, but also again looking at competitions in particular and how to come up with a competition that actually matters. What are the rules, etc., etc. Okay, so just a little bit of an introduction to the lesson itself, identifying which elements of the radio show must or can be dropped, as I've started speaking about that in the previous lesson, knowing that there's a certain order of things that just cannot be. There's just no explanation of. I'm looking at myself in this, so I'm just going to minimize this. I'm that egotistical that I'm going to just keep looking at myself, minimizing that frame. Okay, but yes, so things that you just cannot, like for example, a spot, etc., to what we can actually shuffle around and work around, which is at the lower end and the bottom end, which are links, understanding the need and effects of management. Of repetition of material when it comes to advertising, when it comes to competitions, when it comes to promos, understanding the concept of the outside show suppliers, understanding the need for on competitions, and then how to obviously design and move on from there. What elements go into putting a good radio show together? And we've spoken about that briefly again, just in terms of the clocks, and you know that from your previous year as well. So music, of course, spots and advertising, competitions, etc. Also form just a subcategory under spots. Listener interaction, so the elements that we do want to speak to our callers, whether it be live, whether it be through WhatsApp voice notes, whether it be whatever way, right? Features that we do develop for our shows that are stagnant, in other words, they are at a particular time on a particular day about a particular thing, and then DJ links that are they have fluidity to them. So in other words, they can be made up of whatever we decide is important or relevant to the context of that particular show. Even though the best links are made up of one thought, that thought can sometimes take up too much time and can be misdirected by obviously like a less than best possible purpose, right? So when we can come in with good intentions, everything can be done correctly. You can go prep for the correct content. You can prep the correct way. It can be all tight and beautiful and slick on paper. At the end of the day, the execution also is with everything else that I've just mentioned before. The reason why a link will become, should I say, anything of value and anything of greatness, right? So timing is everything on radio, because we cannot we do everything according to time. I mean, in fact, right down to how we charge and make money is based on time, right? So these are the things that you can. So we go from the green to the yellow light to the red light. Okay. So what are the things that we can kind of move around? If we look at the clocks that we create general links. So for example, again, our admin links, our cross promotions, our throwing forward, our teasers, etc., etc., and our non-regular features. So in other words, content that we decide to be very unique to that specific show, etc. These are things that we can move around within the clock depending on what it is that is needed from us and for us, etc., and to and for the listener, should I say, for that particular show. Things that we have to kind of debate on are regular features that have a specific time. It's still debatable if again within that last spot within the red light where you cannot move these things around. If there's a decision between that and then the yellow light, you would have to go with what is under the red light first, right? And that'll take preference. Features that appear across the station, it's very difficult to kind of again kind of argue away and kind of debate and justify as to why it is the need that you need to change or move it around within your clock and your show. Things you cannot move around are obviously station competitions and promos, the ads, the sports, the news, and of course the music at the end of the day as well. Again, as explained just previously in the lesson before this, like there has to be very particular reasoning and situations that you will have to justify according to your log, etc., as to why it is that this was allowed. You decided to make an executive call and decide that you want to make those changes, right? Okay, so which of the following best describes repetition of program material when it comes to competitions, promos, live events, that anything that might be an activation? It's not irritating, it's not unoriginal, it's not lazy, but it's actually necessary, right? It is because advertising it falls into, I mean, everything, especially this is a passive medium, and so we need to understand and realize that things need to be held in repetition and repetitively, so that it can lock into the memory and actually kind of make sense. It must, it must pop up as an aha, bit of an aha moment. Oh, we realize and understand that this is happening on the station. Um, again, there's just a bit of a stat. An average listener, well, he listens to a single station for between 8 to 12 hours per week, and we can suppose that those obviously are spread out throughout the week. We need to repeat certain elements that are paid for elements, like for example, advertising against sports competitions, throughout the day at different times of the day, different times of the week, so that we can one make sure that we reach a certain person that is tuning in at a very particular time throughout that very, I say, erratic schedule. Not every single listener's schedule or listening schedule or pattern is the same. And two, obviously, that it sinks in, that the message does sink in of whatever it is that we're trying to tell them, right? Okay. So again, this whole repetition about advertising material, it is generally believed that the average listener will hear a typical commercial 3 or 4 times a day, before they actually react to the message. You also need to consider very carefully, and in that reaction might be a reaction, oh, I'm not really interested at all, or I do have interest in it because I do need it, or I would like this, I feel like it, I didn't know I wanted it, I feel like it right now. Like for example, yesterday I was craving chocolate, which is not obviously great for someone that's doing a little bit of a diet, right? But the thing is, at the end of the day, like I ate everything in the fridge before deciding, just drive to the damn quick shop, get yourself a chocolate, and let this end. So let's say I'm now driving in a car and I know that, I don't know, maybe I'm in the mood for something. I'm not quite sure what it is, but I'm definitely looking for something to eat. And there might be, I don't know, a McDonald's ad, and it's featuring like the new flavor of their ice creams, or I don't know what they called, like their swirls, whatever it may be. And it appeals to me, and I think, well, you know what, that'd be nice. I'll stop on the way home and get myself one of those. It will appeal to something that I didn't know I was actually looking for, but definitely was in the mood for, is an example of the difference between that and, let's say, for example, like right now, like I'm going to take my car in for a service. I know that it has to be done. I have a regular mechanic that does do it, but and let's say I am listening to the radio station and I do have to perhaps come across advertisements about car services that are on special or whatever it may be, at a particular, even a dealership that is the trade of the marking or whatever it is under, of which under my car might fall under. So I will pay attention to that, and because obviously it has to be done, like my the subconscious will obviously click in and then know that that is there, and it'll pick it up. But the repetition will be there because again we are distracted by so many different things throughout the day. Radio sales people know that this is a fact, and so we need to know that when we are enticing people towards a certain product, we keep it very simple, we keep it repetitive, we keep the very important points only in what it is that we need to advertise, and we make it very specific to the person's needs so they can go, they know exactly what they want, they know exactly where to find it and what they're looking for and how much it is, where they can, when, where, etc., etc. And so the advertisement becomes effective. Similarly, like a promo or public service announcement or message, whatever it may be, will be frequent. For example, we'll be entering, elections very soon, in less than a year's time, whatever it may be. We'll be hearing a lot of PSAs from different political parties. That'll be a mandate across different stations to be played, and so we will also hear that quite frequently. And again, also because we are aware, and that's very important to our daily living, we'll be listening quite attentively to that. Okay, so when we are prepping, it is very important to understand that yes, we have a sea and of or knowledge, information, and content that is available to us, around the world to prepare a great show. For example, prep sites like YouTube, BuzzFeed, Juice, there are prep services that you can actually pay for. Ideally, we don't want to push you or kind of advise that because that's just lazy. Like, for example, Real World, Good Parts Media, their production services like Radio Express, um, and Benstown, etc. So voiceovers, programming, jingles, etc. These are more likely services that will be used by community stations, ideally because they might not have the human resources to do so, or to produce their own stuff. Some of the DJs get a little bit desperate and they actually pay for services to send them prep for the day. And of course, the danger with that is that there are a number of people that pay for the same service. So you'll be coming up with the same kind of content. There's no angle, there's no uniqueness, there's no you factor in there, and there's no obviously personal direct connection or relevance or buy in from the listener. So be aware of that. So the prep sites are available to you, but ideally, what you should be looking at is a world of prep, understand, and content that are that is available and are available to you when you are looking for content, right? Don't don't go and develop a very poor habit and an unhealthy habit of always looking at the same place for the same content, because then your show will also have one type of tone. In third year especially, what I push is that you do look for, let's say, when you do find something you want to speak about, you do want to cover within the show, make sure that you go and research different avenues of that particular topic so that you have dimension and that you have a lot of perspective on a particular subject matter. And so it'll make you sound and be sound and be great at the end of the day, right? You want to be able to give your listener the best experience, and also again kind of make sure that it's a rich experience, at the end of the day. Okay, so let's go further into competitions. Okay, just knowing that the Competition Act does exist for us to execute fairness, in terms of being able to run a competition, pick a winner. So you'll see that competitions are not based on something that should be judged anymore. That's a bit unfair because it's biased. Like, who's to say that, like, my opinion on what is the best quality or the funniest or whatever it is is worthy of a, like a final prize, the big prize or whatever it is. There are ways to kind of go around that, but it is dangerous because you can be held liable for, breaking certain parts of the Competition Act that is available within our legislature. And so we approach a competition to make sure that the biggest majority of whoever wants to enter can enter, has an equal amount of opportunity to win, and is chosen fairly, and not by us. We do it through a random generator that will pick a final winner, and then that obviously has to go through different processes. I'm saying to just be verified, etc. Through our sales and our marketing departments that will take care of that. But on air, we need to make sure that we do it correctly so that we don't get in trouble at any one point. Remember, if there's favoritism and that is in any way even suggested or leaked or suspected or whatever it is, the station will suffer very, very, very great damage. If it is perceived to in any way, like let's say you now give a prize to your cousin or whatever it is, and for some other reason something gets out like that, they'll be like, oh, it just takes one person to break it all for a station, and there's a lot of damage control that comes with that one silly little decision. Okay, which one of the following is correct? To increase loyalty, to create hype, to sell airtime, or to increase listenership? As to why it is that we have competitions. None of them are actually particularly correct. We want to make sure that we want to just reward our listeners. Just because we hold a competition doesn't mean someone's going to be more loyal to us. To create a hype, sure, that is, I mean, that's definitely it has a lot of merit towards, depending on what it is that you're giving away in the competition. To sell airtime, most definitely that does apply, yeah, but it does not increase listenership by no means, right? So it doesn't matter how great the prize is, it doesn't matter. It won't increase your listenership, and just to expect that to happen is just folly at the end of the day. So, just what does it mean for the client? What does it mean for the station at the end of the day? For the station, we want to reward the listeners just for being listeners and tuning into the station. We want to create hype. It is expected for a station to have competitions, and we do retain advertisers. In fact, we sell more advertising space by making sure that they do buy into a competition, or obviously put in a lot of money to run an activation, etc. From the client side itself, they want to reward their own customers from their own product. So again, we'll be looking at some examples that I just found on the net just for YFM to see how those competitions are good or great, and they fit the particular listener market target audience. We create hype, for the client will create hype around a new product, a new service, whatever it is, a new location. We want to promote products, and we do want to do brand alliances. So make sure that we understand where the client actually fits with excuse me, with the listener themselves. So you can go and have a look at some of those links I've provided there, just to go and have a look at how to hit the sweet spot in radio competitions, good or great radio contest ideas, and how to create a contest marketing strategy that generates qualified leads all year round. At the end of the day, we can also use digital marketing and digital competitions to generate a nice database with obviously their permission to extend like a bit of a database that we can lend to or give to our clients that are paying for this, right? To have them be able to reach a larger market, depending again on what it is that they are entering for. It doesn't matter what product they're trying to sell. So just there's just a random example where there's, for example, there was Battle of the Sexes, quite popular on 947, the late Jeremy Mansfield's show, where there could have been a daily Edgar's voucher. We could have daily prizes. We could have online prizes. We could have, weekly prizes. So let's say you became a finalist, you were the finalist, the best, or the better of the best, in a weekly competition. So you get a grand prize. And we keep obviously when we do competitions and we do things like, for example, Battle of the Sexes, we have men against women. It's very entertaining for the person listening to the piece as well to make sure that it is obviously just a great and entertaining piece and both rewarding to the person that does win as well. We have very popular competitions as well, like for example, like the sound of the day, or there's like a 10 seconds, 10 songs, whatever it may be, where right now I think Jacaranda is doing like the sound of the day, where it's a very obscure little sound. It plays for about a second or 2 seconds. People phone in with a guess. There's a lot of clues that happen or that are given out. The prize will then increase by a certain amount every time someone does not win. So then it accumulates to like 75,000, 100,000. Someone will get it eventually because there'll be enough clues. It also increases time spent listening, whereas someone will then want to listen longer, and every as the day goes along, they'll listen to more of the clues that are given. This might also be shared on social media. um, but again, we have that rollover prize, which is also kind of that it creates a great kind of tension and a great kind of build up as well for a listener that likes to take part, and especially that winning moment is also very rewarding for them. The logistics, we need to also understand logistics. So, for example, for example, the most damaging social media incidents have occurred as a result of either delayed prize deliveries or disappointment or disillusioned winners. When you promise them something that's more, but you give them less, or you give them something else. So you've haven't followed the brief, or you've decided to go rogue, and you completely. I mean, this is again because of the cancel culture. And the danger of that, and the ripple effect, that we have to do so much damage control right now. You just cannot afford. It's just a no and a no go zone for any presenter to not get this correctly, especially because one, obviously, it's just wrong to do it, but two, so many people within your radio station have put a lot of effort to make that happen, and you can't be the one at the end to foil that. Okay, so when we are designing competitions, we want to obviously again reward loyalty as well. Competitions to reward loyal listeners. We run that across, let's say, a day, or across a week, or across 3 weeks, or whatever it may be. For example, they may have their name mentioned, and they may have a time limit to call in and claim their prize. We want to create a little bit of, like I say, excitement. We want to create again the kind of rewards area or space. The station must be realistic about the power of any such competitions. The average listener must stay tuned in for the whole day if we're going to now start to spread it out across like different ripple. Like I might say, I keep using the word ripple effect, but so if you mustn't design a competition that goes, okay, you must listen to the breakfast to know how to answer it in the brunch or the lunch or whatever it is. You must kind of make sure that the competition can stand alone on its own, but be repetitive throughout the day, so we can have like we say, like the sound of the station is a very generic competition. It's been used by hundreds of stations all around the world. It's a very successful mechanism, right? An idea, and it does increase time spent listening, and again loyalty, as well as again just a kind of that winning moment. So we do have a couple of rules, okay, for designing competitions. One, most listeners will not enter the competition, therefore the whole execution must at least be entertaining and great to listen to. You must think of a snappy title for the promotion, so something that obviously links in with your brand, with their brand, and not something so plain and forward or whatever it is. And the whole point of it is to kind of like also stay in the back of their heads. And again, we are in a creative space, so it makes no sense to not make it snappy and creative. Look for a hook for the promotion, so something connected within the lifestyle of the target listener. So it could be a very popular film that could be released, and you want to go and give away, let's say, premiere tickets, or let's say premiere tickets to Hollywood or whatever it may be. Be careful of experiences, because the person must be available for those experiences if it's a certain date, etc., etc. Money always works the best. Do not make the listener jump through hoops, please. Like it's really irritating. People must be able to win the competition. The client wants to give away stuff, doesn't want to be left with money at the end of the day or prize. Keep the game open as long as possible. In other words, do not make semi-finals and quarterfinals, etc., etc. For any radio competition in South Africa, there must be a reasonable way of being able to enter it and not be considered an illegal lottery. Okay, so once again, the whole thing of understanding the Competitions Act and understanding what is fair to every listener that can and wants to enter must be available to them. The most entertaining quiz questions are those that are difficult enough to think about, but also easy enough to get, right? So that if you don't get it and you hear the answer, you're like, oh, of course, that makes sense, right? Make sure that they can't, let's say, go Google it immediately because we are living in a digital age, and don't make it easy like that. And especially don't, just in general, like features don't work like a historical moment or whatever it is. I don't know. Just be a little bit more creative about that. Eight, ensure the entry mechanism is available once again. So probably an SMS or WhatsApp or whatever it may be, or just again, I don't assume that everyone has the internet on their phone. Don't make it exclusively something that you say on air, but then you can only go and enter it on the website. That makes no sense. At least be able to phone in. Design the game so that you can keep moving with high production values. So you want to also be able to spike certain parts and make sure that certain elements are greatly produced. The winning moments, the music bed, like obviously the person that's the client that's sponsoring it. You want to have something quite colorful and well produced. And from the beginning, make it clear how the winner will be selected so that there is no animosity when that does actually happen. So, again, just in terms of competition rules, while some promotions still have a very specific set of rules, all promotions will be governed by Section 54 one of the Lotteries Amendment Act 46 of 2001, Section 46 of 2001. I don't know how to read legal things, so I'm just going to read like that, as well as the station terms and conditions relating to the competition. So you'll see that when you go to a site, all there'll be an entire site, a page on the website that is devoted and will state the terms and conditions for any and all restrictions or whatever it may be in competitions or call-ins or this or involvement, whatever it may be, right? So this is the exercise for today, and then I'm just going to go quickly head off to the YFM site so that you can we can look at one or two competitions. So one, you must design a competition to run across the entire station for a 5-day period. In other words, it's got to be captivating enough to not get boring. You've got to think of the entry mechanism. You got to think of something, and we're gonna do, let's say, a BMH radio, right? The grand prize is an experience. The competition must fulfill the aim of rewarding a loyal listener, and the competition must have at least 10 terms and conditions, which you can go find on the net as a guide. I just want to stop that share, and I want to share a different screen. So I'm just going to head off to the is the here we go. Okay, so here's going to YFM. So here's the competition here. So we want to make sure that YFM is it's conducting competitions that match the stuff that we just mentioned now. So obviously matching the listener, the target audience. When your share of 50 grand with One Life and YFM this February. Obviously, this now has passed. So we've teamed up with One Life Insurance to play It's Your Life. Enter the competition below and stand a chance to win your share of 50 grand thanks to One Life. Don't forget to opt in for an obligation free quote. Then stay tuned to Y Mornings from Monday, 13th of Feb. We could be calling you to change your life with life changing Lerato, who has lots of cash giveaways. One Life is a licensed um, insurer and FSP. Terms and conditions will apply online. Visit onelife.co.za for a quote, One Life Changing Lives. Okay. So if I have to kind of measure this, it's not exactly the best competition. It doesn't really tell you much about how it really works. I'm saying to you, so it just says that obviously here's just a bit of a mechanic that you'll be able to you'll be able to be called, but you'll have to obviously enter via the site. Will have been a site entry here. Um, Slash, let me just make sure. There we go. Yeah, there's an entry mechanism in terms of like an SMS line. And just what I want to say, what's in line with it, so it's your life is quite cool in terms of like it's still kind of edgy in terms of it's young, it's with a young audience. It'll apply 50 grand is a monetary prize is a great prize to give away because any listener can do what they want. Any type of listener can actually win it. Doesn't matter their age, their sex, whatever it is. Where they are in the country doesn't matter, and they can do with it whatever they want. That's the best. So money is always the best prize to actually give away. And so there's just one example of one. Not exactly the best. So if I was One Life, wouldn't be too happy with the way that it's being advertised on online. It could have had a lot a much better design and interaction kind of examples. Yes, it is a bit close, but kind of some examples. And so yeah, of some videos with the YFM Mornings team that are kind of promoting this as well. Links to their social mediums, etc. And it really was. I mean, like a banner this big is also very kind of just it's kind of it looks very messy, and the design is not too great. And obviously we don't really quite understand the views and the likes, which also, I mean, for 10 people to like the competition, not really great, would remove things like that. So we can discuss, and we will discuss definitely a little bit more, just in terms of like this type of stuff here. Funeral cover for One Life, not exactly again the best an exact match for like an alternative youth market. They're not really interested in funeral cover, so the person in the sales team that was signing up for this or trying to convince him that this was a great partnership actually took One Life for a bit of a ride. They should have actually be focusing on some different aspect or different a service that One Life does provide, or why it is important for young people to get funeral cover, if any. It's not to say that only old people die. That makes no sense. So it could have been taken from an angle of, well, you know what? There are, you're and becoming a young adult. This is a responsibility, and One Life can help you like make the transition a little bit better, or whatever it may be. Right? Okay. So I'm going to end it there, and we'll see each other